She always looked over her shoulder, even when we were safe, even when there was no reason to. I used to think it was just anxiety, trauma from a rough past. But I was wrong. It wasn't fear. It was memory. There was something she never told me. Something that started with a stranger in a grocery store and ended with her handing over a USB drive that could destroy lives. For years, I loved a version of her that was hiding in plain sight. And the truth? It wasn't just painful. It was dangerous. There were people watching us. People who knew exactly who she was and what she had. And when it all came crashing down, I had to choose: walk away from the woman I loved, or step into the darkness she tried so hard to leave behind. What she finally confessed changed everything. Not just how I saw her, but how I saw myself. This is the story of how I found out who my wife really was. It started like any normal afternoon. My wife, Emily, had gone out to pick up a few things from the store. We were having my parents over for dinner that night, and she wanted everything to be just right. She always does that, pays attention to the little things. The wine they like, my dad's favorite kind of olives, even the weird scented candles my mom claims help her migraines. That's Emily. Thoughtful, reliable, the one person in my life who made everything feel steady. I was chopping vegetables when she called me. Her voice was strange, not panicked, not scared, but distant, like her mind was somewhere else. She said, "Hey, something weird just happened." I asked her if she was okay. She paused and then said, "Yeah, I think so. It's probably nothing." A guy bumped into me at the store. I laughed a little, confused. "You called me about someone bumping into you?" But she didn't laugh with me. It's just, after he bumped into me, he turned around, looked me dead in the eye, and said my name, my full name. Then he just walked away. I stopped chopping. My heart dropped a little, but I didn't want to overreact. "What do you mean?" he said. "Your full name." "Like Emily Grace Whitmore." "Exactly that," she said quietly. And I swear, I've never seen him before in my life. I didn't know what to say. I asked her what he looked like, if she could describe him. She said he looked normal, late 30s, clean cut, business casual. No weird behavior other than the fact that he knew her name, and didn't stick around to explain why. She laughed it off a little, like she was trying to convince herself it wasn't a big deal. "Maybe I went to school with him or something and forgot," she said. "Or maybe he saw my name on a receipt or whatever." I told her, yeah, that must be it. Just someone recognizing her from somewhere, or overhearing her name. But deep down, I felt something I couldn't explain. A discomfort that didn't match the facts. Just this creeping sense that something about it didn't sit right. She came home about 20 minutes later, bags in hand, smile on her face like nothing had happened. But I watched her, every small move, the way she kept glancing at her phone, the way she paused before unpacking the groceries like her mind was still spinning. Later that evening, when my parents arrived, everything felt normal again. Laughs, wine, the scent of roasted garlic in the kitchen. Emily was charming as ever, laughing with my mom, helping my dad with his coat. If she was shaken, she didn't show it. But I couldn't shake it. When we went to bed that night, I asked her again, "Are you sure you don't know that guy?" She hesitated just a second too long before saying, "I don't, honestly." I believed her, or maybe I wanted to, but around a.m., I woke up to the soft glow of her phone screen. She was scrolling. Her eyes were locked on something, and she didn't notice I was awake. I said her name gently. She jumped, literally jumped, like I'd caught her doing something she wasn't supposed to. I asked, "What are you looking at?" She turned the phone, face down on the bed, and said, "Nothing, just couldn't sleep." But that feeling in my chest, that tight, heavy pull, only got worse. And I didn't sleep much the rest of the night. I wish I could say that was just a weird coincidence, that life went back to normal the next day. But it didn't, because whatever started in that store, whatever that stranger said or didn't say, it had already started to unravel something in her. And maybe in me too, because sometimes it only takes one moment, one bump, one sentence for your whole sense of peace to start crumbling. And deep down, I already knew this wasn't going to be nothing. It was going to be everything. The next morning, I watched Emily a little more carefully than usual. I didn't want to seem paranoid, but something had shifted, and I couldn't unsee it. The way she stirred her coffee slower than usual. The way her eyes stayed a second too long on her phone screen when it lit up. She wasn't saying much, but it was clear her mind was racing. Around noon, she got a text. I didn't look, but I felt her body tense beside me. She said it was from a friend she hadn't talked to in a while. When I asked which one, she just said, "Oh, you don't know her," and walked into the other room. That's when I started to feel it, like I was on the outside of something. Like there was a conversation happening that I wasn't invited to. And it wasn't just paranoia. It was instinct. Something was off. And whatever it was, she wasn't ready to tell me. Later that afternoon, we went out to run a few errands together. She seemed quieter, but I was trying not to press too hard. We were walking through a bookstore when I caught her staring at a man across the aisle. He was wearing a dark blue jacket. Nothing remarkable, but she looked frozen. I asked, "Do you know him?" She blinked a few times and shook her head. No, sorry. I just thought he looked familiar." "Never mind." But her hands were trembling. "Barely. But I saw it." And when the man noticed her staring and gave her a slight nod before walking away, I knew he recognized her, not the other way around. That night, I didn't say anything. I just watched her. She paced around the house like she didn't know what to do with herself. Eventually, she poured a glass of wine and sat on the couch, staring into space. I sat down beside her, quiet for a while, and then I said, "Emily, what's going on?" She looked at me, and for a second, I thought she might tell me. Her mouth opened, then closed again. And then she said something that didn't sit right at all. He said a name yesterday. I sat up. "Who did?" "The man who bumped into me. He didn't just say my name. He said, Grace Delaney." I stared at her. "Grace Delaney? That's not your name." She paused, and then whispered, "It used to be." I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My heart started racing. "What do you mean it used to be?" That's not just a nickname." She nodded slowly. "Before I legally changed it, before I moved, before I met you, I didn't even know where to begin." "Emily, what are you talking about?" She looked down. "It was a long time ago, a different life. I never thought it would catch up to me. I didn't yell. I didn't even know how to. I was too stunned." She had never mentioned anything about changing her name. Nothing about a past life. I felt like I didn't know the person sitting in front of me. "So this guy, he knew you from back then?" She nodded. "I think so. I didn't recognize him at first, but when I saw that guy in the bookstore, it hit me. He was one of them. One of the men from back then." I leaned back, overwhelmed. "Back then? When? What happened, Emily?" She looked at me and her eyes were full of tears, but she didn't cry. "There are things I haven't told you. Things I thought I could leave behind. But they're not staying there. They're coming back." That sentence alone was enough to send a chill through me. I wanted to press her, demand answers, but I also knew, whatever she was holding in, it wasn't simple. And it definitely wasn't safe. I stood up, pacing the room. "Why didn't you ever tell me this? Don't you think I had a right to know?" She whispered, "I didn't want you to look at me differently. I didn't want to lose you." But in that moment, I wasn't sure who she even was. My wife, who had told me everything, I thought had just revealed that her name, her identity, her history, was something completely different. And some stranger somewhere still knew that version of her. And now, apparently, he wanted her to know it. The next few hours passed in silence. Not angry silence, just heavy. I kept going over her words again and again. Grace Delaney. What else was I about to find out? And how much danger had just walked into our lives? Because whatever this was, it wasn't over. It was just starting. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling while Emily faced the other way, pretending to be asleep. I could hear her breathing steady, but not deep. We were both wide awake, just unwilling to speak. And that silence between us, it felt like a canyon. I kept replaying it all. That man at the store, the name Grace Delaney, the way she froze in the bookstore, the way she looked at me, like she was just waiting for me to walk away, like she expected me to. But the worst part wasn't what she said. It was what she didn't. The next morning, She acted like nothing had happened. Made coffee, watered the plants. I wanted to scream, but I stayed quiet. I just watched, studied her, every move, every glance at her phone. She was checking something constantly, like she was waiting for another message. At one point, she left her phone on the counter and stepped out to get the laundry. I hesitated for a second, and then I picked it up. There wasn't anything obvious. No texts, no missed calls. But when I opened the notes app, just curiosity, or maybe desperation, I saw something strange. A new note. Saved 2 days ago. Titled with just a dot. Inside was a list. Just dates and names. Some crossed out, some not. And one word at the bottom. Vegas. My stomach dropped. When she walked back in, I was still holding the phone. She stopped mid-step. What are you doing? I didn't try to lie. What is this? Her face went pale. She walked over slowly, took the phone, and locked it. Didn't say a word. I stood there, heart pounding. Emily, I deserve to know what's going on. She didn't meet my eyes, just whispered, not yet. That answer, it broke something in me, not just because it was vague, but because she meant it. She genuinely believed that this thing, whatever it was, wasn't ready to be told. We barely spoke that day. She went out for hours without saying where. I stayed home, looking at the clock like it had answers. When she came back, her hair was damp, like she'd been out walking in the rain. She looked like someone who had been crying but didn't want anyone to notice. I didn't ask. I didn't even know what to ask anymore. That night, the silence returned, but it wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. I lay awake, listening to the rain tapping against the window, wondering if I had ever really known my wife at all. At some point, I heard her slip out of bed. I didn't move. I just listened. Her footsteps down the hallway, the soft click of the office door closing. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, I got up and walked down the hall. The door wasn't locked. I opened it gently and found her sitting at the desk, typing something into an email draft but not sending it. She looked up, startled. I didn't hear you get up. I walked in slowly. Who are you writing to? She hesitated. Someone I thought I left behind a long time ago. I sat across from her. Emily, I'm not angry. I'm scared. You're hiding something that's clearly haunting you. If I'm going to stand beside you, I need to know what I'm standing in front of. She wiped her eyes. You want the truth? Yes. She took a deep breath. When I was 21, I was living in Vegas under a different name, Grace Delaney. I wasn't married. I wasn't anyone's wife. I was running from my family, from my mistakes, from myself. I didn't interrupt. I just listened. I got involved with a group of people who weren't good. I thought they were friends, but they weren't. They were using me for connections, for money, for information. I saw things I didn't want to be part of. But by the time I realized what they really were, it was too late. She paused, her voice cracking. I left everything behind. I changed my name, moved across the country, started over. I never told anyone, not even my parents. You were the first person who made me feel like I didn't have to keep running. I looked at her. So this guy, the one at the store. She nodded. He was part of it. One of the last people I saw before I disappeared. And now he's back. He saw me. He said my name. And now I think they know where I am. A chill ran down my spine. What do they want? I don't know, but I don't think it's over. We sat there, both of us shaking, not from cold but from the weight of everything unsaid. I reached out and took her hand. You're not running this time. Not alone. She nodded slowly, tears finally falling, and in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about her past anymore. It was about our future, and whoever was coming after Grace Delaney was about to meet the person willing to protect Emily. And no matter what. The next morning felt different. Not calmer, just quieter, like the calm that settles right before a storm. Emily didn't say much. She just moved around the house like she was already packing memories she couldn't take with her. She avoided eye contact, but I could feel the weight she carried. And now, for the first time, I understood why. She wasn't just hiding a mistake. She was hiding from people who had once made her feel invisible, useful, disposable. Around noon, I got a call From my friend Alex. He manages security at the mall near the grocery store where Emily bumped into that man. I had asked him quietly to pull whatever footage he could, just to see if something didn't sit right. His voice was tight. "Hey man, you're gonna want to see this." What he sent me. It made my blood run cold. It was Emily walking through the parking lot, heading to her car with bags in her hand. Then this guy, same one who said her old name, he didn't just bump into her. He followed her. 5 minutes earlier, he was waiting near the entrance. Not shopping, not even pretending, just standing there, watching every woman that walked in and out. Until she came out, he saw her, straightened his jacket, then started walking, followed her through the lot and only bumped into her when they were alone, out of view of most people. I watched it 3 times. Then I watched it again. This wasn't a chance encounter. This was planned. When I showed Emily the footage, she went pale. Her lips trembled. He knew I'd be there. That's not possible. That grocery store isn't even one I normally go to. She stopped herself, then whispered, "Unless someone's watching." I asked her straight out, "Do you think they found you after all this time?" She nodded slowly. "I didn't think they would care anymore. I thought if I stayed invisible long enough, they'd move on." I sat with her on the couch, holding her hand tight. "We need to talk to someone. Police, lawyer, I don't care who. But we're not doing this alone." She hesitated, then finally said, "There's one person. His name's Dean. He used to be part of the group, but he left before things got ugly. I think he'd help. But contacting him, it's risky." Still, we had no choice. She sent a message to an old email she remembered. "Grace needs eyes." She wrote, no names, no details, just a breadcrumb. 2 days passed, and then an envelope arrived at our door. No return address. Inside was a disposable phone. Prepaid. Only one number saved on it. It rang 2 hours later. I answered, trying to keep my voice calm. "This is Grace's husband." A pause. Then a voice said, "Then you better listen closely, because this goes deeper than either of you thought." The man introduced himself as Dean, and he didn't waste time. "They didn't forget her," he said. "Grace Emily, she wasn't just a witness. She saw something she wasn't supposed to, something that could have shut everything down. And the people in charge, they never forgave that." I asked him, "Then why haven't they done anything in all these years?" "They were waiting," Dean said. "Most of the group scattered, got quiet. But someone's rebuilding now, reaching out, tying up old ends. And if one of them saw her in public, that means they're ready to start pulling threads." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. What do they want? Silence or leverage? Dean warned us to stay out of sight for a few days. He said he'd make some calls, try to reroute whatever attention was on us. But it might not be enough. After the call, Emily was silent. Then she said something I'll never forget. "I'm tired of hiding." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" "I mean, if they want to find me, let them. I'm not the same girl I was back then. I'm not afraid of them anymore." That moment changed everything. She wasn't running anymore. We weren't. And if they were coming for her, they'd have to go through me first. That night, we locked the doors, turned off the lights, sat side by side in the dark, not out of fear but to listen, to feel, to know if someone was out there. And somewhere deep inside me, I already knew this wasn't over. It was just beginning. I never expected the moment of truth to come the way it did. There wasn't some dramatic confrontation, no sudden chase or knock on the door. It came quietly, in the middle of a quiet morning, with the sun just beginning to cut through the blinds. I was drinking coffee at the kitchen table, staring at the same chair she always sat in, when she finally walked in and sat down, slow, tired, and somehow lighter. She looked at me like she'd rehearsed every word she was about to say for years. "I need to tell you who I really am," she said. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, because I knew this was the moment I'd been waiting for and dreading. She started with a name, not Emily. Sophia. My name was Sophia Carson. That's what they called me when I was part of them. I was 17 when I got pulled in. I didn't know what it really was back then. They said it was a mentorship program. Said they helped girls like me, gave us jobs, a place to stay, a sense of purpose. She paused. Her hands were shaking. but they were selling us. Not all of us, just the ones who were easiest to isolate. Girls with no family, no papers, no one who'd look twice if we disappeared. I was one of the lucky ones. I figured it out before it was too late. And I ran. I asked her softly, "What did you see, Sophia?" Her eyes filled with tears. But she didn't cry. She just stared, straight ahead, like she was back in that room again. I saw the ledgers, the names, transactions. I don't know why they were so careless, but I found a folder once, full of documents, real names, real people, government contracts, photos. I took one picture of it, just one, on a burner phone. I was scared out of my mind. She pulled something out of her pocket, a tiny, cracked USB. I saved that image. It's been with me ever since. I held it like it was radioactive, because I realized, in that moment, we weren't dealing with small-time criminals or some secret group of former cult members. This was something else, something massive, and she was the one thread that never got cut. They found out I saw it, she continued. I overheard one of the men talking about me, said I'd seen too much, that they were dealing with it the next day. That night, I ran, changed my name, cut my hair, burned everything. I asked her, and the guy from the store. He was one of them, not one of the leaders, just a runner, a watcher, someone who made sure no one talked. The pieces were all falling into place. Her anxiety, her paranoia, the way she avoided cameras, crowded places, even making close friends. She had built a whole life trying not to be found. And still, they found her. So what happens now? I asked. She looked at me. Now we go to the FBI. I shook my head. Slowly. You sure? That means giving them everything, including that name. Your real one. She nodded. I'm done running. They don't get to own my fear anymore. That same afternoon, we drove to the nearest field office. No appointments. No lawyer. Just two people walking in with a secret they'd carried for far too long. It took hours. Endless questions. Verifying identities. Confirming the story. But when they finally saw the image she had saved, the one she risked everything to keep, it was like something shifted in that room. They told us we'd done the right thing, that there was already an investigation open into something similar, that what we had might connect the dots, but they also warned us things might get dangerous before they get better. They gave us protection, temporary names, a place to stay, while they processed everything. But we knew this was only the beginning. Later that night, as we lay in a safe house bed that wasn't ours, she whispered, "Do you still love me? After all of this?" I didn't even hesitate, more than I ever did, because love isn't about the easy chapters. It's about what you do when the truth finally breaks through. And in the end, I didn't fall in love with the version of her who was running. I fell in love with the one who chose to stop, with Sophia, with the truth, with the kind of woman who stood up to monsters with nothing but her story and her strength. And I know now, we're going to be okay. Maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Together.